The night my family finally noticed me, everything broke at once. The engagement party glittered exactly the way it was supposed to. Crystal chandeliers, white roses, a jazz trio humming softly in the corner. We were in the Marlowe Grand Ballroom, one of those places designed to make ordinary people feel temporarily important. 200 guests, endless champagne, and my younger sister, Lila, holding her left hand at chest height like it deserved its own spotlight. Her ring caught the light every time she moved.
Big. Loud.
Impossible to ignore. I stood near the bar with a half-warm glass of red wine, smiling when required, nodding on cue. I'd mastered the art of being present without being seen. Lila's engagement story had already been told at least a dozen times. How Evan proposed, how surprised she was, how she almost fainted. My parents laughed every time like it was new. I wasn't jealous. I told myself that until I almost believed it. Then Uncle Robert walked in late, apologizing loudly about a delayed flight from California, and the air shifted. Robert wasn't just my dad's younger brother. He was the only one who ever called me without an agenda. The only one who asked real questions. He hugged Lila, congratulated Evan, then turned to me with that familiar, grounding warmth. "Claire," he said, pulling me into a hug. "God, it's good to see you." He stepped back, studying my face. "How's life in that house you bought in Ridgewood Hills?" "Still love the view." Silence fell so fast it felt physical. My mother's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. My father's smile collapsed. Lila's ring hand stopped mid-gesture. "What house?" my father asked quietly. I took a slow sip of wine. 8 years. 8 years of being talked over, dismissed, politely ignored while my sister's every milestone became a family event. And now, without meaning to, Robert had cracked the shell. "The one Claire bought back in 2017, Robert said easily. 5 bedrooms. Craftsman style. Gorgeous place." Lila laughed sharply. "That's not funny. Claire rents near the university." "I rented." I corrected, my voice calm. "For 2 years during my doctorate. Then I bought the house." My father stared at me like he was seeing a stranger. "With what money?" "I put down $200,000. Paid off the mortgage 6 years ago." The words landed wrong. Too heavy. Too late. My mother pressed a hand to her chest. "You paid off a mortgage?" Robert nodded, proud. "She used her signing bonus." "Smartest move I've ever seen." "What signing bonus?" my father whispered. "When I joined Ardent Biotech," I said. "They offered $175,000 to leave my postdoc." Lila's smile twitched. "That's not normal." "It is at my level," I said gently. "My current compensation is around $360,000 a year." Someone dropped a glass behind us. It shattered, sharp and loud, like punctuation. My parents didn't move, didn't breathe. Robert kept going, unaware or unwilling to stop. "That doesn't include her patent royalties." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "Patents?" 11, I said. "Mostly oncology drug delivery systems." Lila's ring suddenly looked small. I should have stopped it. I should have changed the subject. But a part of me, quiet, wounded, tired, wanted the truth to stand on its own for once. Then Robert smiled and asked, almost casually, "So, have you decided about the lake property yet?" My father's head snapped up. "What lake property?" And in that moment, I realized this night wasn't just an accident anymore. It was a reckoning. I felt it before it happened, the moment when curiosity turned into hunger. "The lake property," my father repeated, louder this time. His voice had that edge I remembered from childhood, the one he used when something slipped beyond his control. Robert hesitated, finally sensing the shift. "It's just an investment," he said lightly. "A place on Lake Caldera. Claire's been looking at it as a short-term rental." "A vacation home?" my mother asked, almost offended. "Why would you need that?" I set my glass down. "Because it makes sense." Lila let out a thin laugh. "Since when do you own multiple properties?" I met her eyes. "Since I bought my second one. Then the third. Then the fourth." My mother swayed. My father grabbed her elbow. 4, he said. You're saying you own 4 houses? 5, I corrected. If you count my primary residence. The circle around us tightened. Guests pretended not to listen while absolutely listening. I could feel the weight of attention pressing against my skin. Robert cleared his throat. They're modest places. Single-family homes. Claire renovates them and rents them out. For income diversification, I added. Average cash flow is about $1,800 per property. My father's lips moved silently as he did the math. That's over $80,000 a year. Before appreciation, Robert said. Lila stared at me like I'd committed some kind of crime. You've been hiding this. No, I said. You just never ask. The words cut deeper than I intended. My mother's face crumpled. I don't understand, she whispered. You're a scientist. I'm the director of oncology research, I said softly. I manage 46 researchers. We're running phase 3 trials on a pancreatic cancer treatment. Robert pulled out his phone, scrolling. Her work was featured in Medical Frontiers last month. They called it revolutionary. My father looked physically ill. Pancreatic cancer? Yes, I said. If it works, it could change survival rates. A woman I vaguely recognized, one of Robert's colleagues, stepped closer. Claire, congratulations on the FDA breakthrough designation. My parents turned to her in unison. Breakthrough? My mother echoed. It fast-tracks approval, I explained. 18 months instead of 4 years. The woman smiled at me. You're presenting the keynote in Zurich next month, right? I nodded. Yes. The youngest keynote speaker in the conference's history, Robert added proudly. Lila's voice sharpened. So, what is this? You're rich and famous now. I'm respected, I said. There's a difference. Her face twisted, something ugly flashing through. Why didn't you tell us? I swallowed. I did. My father shook his head. That's not true. It is, Robert said firmly. I have the emails. He listed dates. Conversations. Moments I remembered vividly. Being interrupted, dismissed, redirected back to Lila's life like mine was a detour no one wanted to take. My mother started crying openly. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't know. You didn't want to know, I replied, quieter now. Lila suddenly pushed back from the group. I need air. She fled toward the balcony. Evan followed, confused and silent. My parents turned to me like children who'd broken something precious. What do you want from us? My father asked. I searched myself for the answer and found nothing. I wanted you to see me, I said. But I stopped needing that years ago. The truth settled between us, heavy and irreversible. And I knew this wasn't over. The balcony doors hadn't even stopped swinging when my mother reached for me. Claire, please, she said, her fingers brushing my wrist. Don't leave like this. I stepped back, not in anger, in instinct. Mom, I said gently, this isn't about leaving. This is about finally being honest. My father stood rigid beside her, his shoulders squared like he was bracing for impact. For the first time in my life, he looked unsure. We love you, he said. You know that. Do I? I asked. Because love is attention. It's curiosity. It's remembering. Silence answered me. Robert didn't interrupt this time. He just watched, his expression unreadable. I can tell you exactly when you stop seeing me. I continued. Thanksgiving 6 years ago. I started explaining my research. You interrupted after 2 minutes to ask Lila about her new apartment. My mother covered her mouth. I don't remember that. I do, I said, because it was the last time I tried. Her knees seemed to buckle. My father caught her, his face pale. I didn't know you felt invisible, he said hoarsely. That's the thing, I replied. I told you. You just didn't hear it. Behind us, laughter spilled from the ballroom. Music, clinking glasses, life going on without us. Lila's night continued, fractured but intact. Ours didn't get a playlist. My father cleared his throat. What do you want now? The question stunned me. I'd expected anger, denial, even bargaining. But not that. I don't want anything, I said slowly. Not money, not praise, not apologies that only exist because you're embarrassed. My mother sobbed harder. We can fix this. Can you? I asked. Or do you just want access to the version of me you can brag about? That landed hard. My father looked away. Robert finally spoke. You had 2 daughters. One was loud. One was quiet. You only listened to the noise. The truth hung there, unforgiving. I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm protecting myself. I turned toward the exit. Claire, my mother cried. Please. I didn't turn back. In the lobby, the noise faded into a dull hum. Robert caught up with me near the coat check. You okay? He asked. I nodded, then shook my head. I don't know. I thought it would feel like revenge. It doesn't. It rarely does, he said. My phone's going to explode tonight. Let it, he replied. You don't owe anyone immediate forgiveness. Outside, the city air felt colder, cleaner. I breathed like I hadn't in years. I spent so long proving I was enough, I said. And they still didn't see it. Robert squeezed my shoulder. That's not a failure on your part. On the drive home, my phone buzzed relentlessly. Calls. Texts. Lila, you ruined my night. My parents, please talk to us. I didn't respond. When I pulled into my driveway, the lights of my house glowed warmly, steady, unchanged. I walked through every room like I was seeing it for the first time. This life was real. I'd built it quietly,
Carefully.
without applause. And tomorrow, they would want back in. The question was whether I would let them. The house was silent except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant wind brushing against the windows. I kicked off my heels by the door and stood there, barefoot on the hardwood floor, letting the stillness settle into my bones. This was the part no one ever saw. The aftermath. I poured myself a glass of water and sat at the kitchen island, staring at my phone as it lit up again.
Mom.
Dad. Lila. I didn't answer. For years, I had imagined this moment differently. I thought being seen would feel like victory, like relief, like justice. Instead, it felt like standing in the ruins of something I hadn't realized I was still hoping to save. I walked through the house slowly. My office, where research papers lay neatly stacked, marked with handwritten notes from late nights and early mornings. The guest room where Robert stayed when he visited, always asking about my work, always listening. The backyard garden, small but purposeful, where I grew vegetables I donated every month without telling anyone. No audience. No validation. Just intention. My phone buzzed again. A text from my mother. We failed you. Please let us try to make this right. I closed my eyes. Did they fail me? Or did they simply choose the easier story? The one where my silence meant smallness? Another message appeared. This one from Lila. You always had to compete. Even tonight. That one hurt more than I expected. I sank onto the couch and finally let myself feel it. The grief. Not for the childhood I had, but for the one I never got. For the moments I stayed quiet so she could shine. For the versions of myself that learned to succeed without witnesses. My phone rang again. Robert. I answered. You home? He asked. Yes. Good, he said. Listen. They're panicking. That's not your responsibility. I know, I whispered. But it still hurts. Of course it does. You're human. I stared at the ceiling. What if they change? Then they'll prove it, he said. Over time. Not tonight. Not with tears and guilt. After we hung up, I stood and went to my bedroom. I opened the window and let the cold night air rush in. Somewhere out there, my parents were rewriting their memories. Somewhere, Lila was explaining the night in a way that didn't include her blindness. And here I was. Whole. Unbroken. Still standing. I picked up my phone one last time and typed a message to my parents. I need space. If you want a relationship, it has to be built slowly, honestly, and without expectations. Please respect that. I didn't wait for a reply. I turned off the lights and climbed into bed, exhaustion settling deep into my muscles. Tomorrow, I would return to work, to trials and data and purpose, to a world where my voice mattered because of what it did, not how it sounded. As sleep pulled me under, one truth finally felt solid and unshakable. I had never been invisible. They just never learned how to look.